The go-to criticism for any manager these days seems to be that they don't have a plan B. Certainly that seems to be the case in recent Premier League history. So what does a plan B look like in Football Manager? When should you be using one, and what about plan C? Well, in this video, which is a direct successor to this one, where we talked about the most OP tactic that we've been using in FM24 so far, we're going to cover off how, why and when we turn to a backup plan, and how this can turn a mid-season slump into a treble-winning trophy haul. Let's go. We're going to kick things off then with the real meat and potatoes by sharing what types of matches in which we opt for our plan A, a revised version thereof, or when we turn to plans B and C. Then we'll share some recent results where we used modified plans and ask if you think that was a good call. It's all time-stamped as per every FM Immortal video, so if you're just here for the customised elongated diamond tactic, you can skip ahead, we'll still love you. So when do we use our default tactic then? Well, unsurprisingly, the answer is the majority of the time. But for the sake of our initialising a rule of thumb, let's say this. Plan A is used for every home game that doesn't warrant adjustment, plus every away game against the bottom 60% or so of the league. We essentially covered our plan A tactic in detail in our last video, which we'll link at the end of this one, but we'll also work on uploading that to FMSCOUT so that those individual role instructions can be mimicked with ease. Moving into the adjusted versions of plan A then, and a slightly more cautious plan A would then be used against home fixtures against title rivals or big teams in cup competitions. Plus, the same approach can be used to close out games in the final 15 minutes or so. A counter-attacking version of plan A then would be our option in away fixtures against the big teams or against a team that's pushing very high up the pitch, perhaps in search of a goal. So being flexible mid-match here with the counter-attacking is crucial to making sure your plan A has that dynamic edge. Having slight variations on how attacking or direct your plan A is can be a great way to maintain tactical familiarity throughout the whole season, whilst being harder to predict and counter from the AI's perspective. And this for me is the big differentiator when it comes to avoiding a mid-season slump. On to plan B then, we'd go boldly into a different formation altogether, only when we're in an away fixture that you are not the favourites to win, be that against a title rival or in the latter stages of European competitions, or you may opt to go plan B against a formation that you know to be your bogey formation. Now we cover more about that in the video that's going to be linked at the end, so maybe watch that one next. Lastly then, plan C is all about chasing goals, be that mid-match or if you need a big turnaround in the second leg of a knockout match. We're also going to cover what plan C looks like for us briefly later on, but let's move into how we put those slight variations on plan A to make a big difference, shall we? So it's the third game of the season. We've got PSG at home. It's usually a game that we can now see off. We have become better than PSG, I think, in terms of personnel and performances. We've won the league twice in a row. They have gone to a 5-3-2 formation, and as I've mentioned in a previous video, the two up front tends to cause us havoc. I don't think Mbappe's best position is a deep lying forward, so I question Simone Inzaghi's approach there. But he's still a force to be reckoned with in a 2, so it's quite difficult to counter him sometimes. Now, this is obviously the formation we've rocked and talked about in a previous video as well. So the only other thing I'm going to do going into this match, I'm going to make sure I mark Mbappe showing onto his left foot, press Pino, press Vitinha, press Zaire Emery, and if we need to on these fullbacks, we'll start pressing them as well, with maybe a bit of man marking going on for whoever of these two is getting the best of us. But I don't think I need to change too much because I am the home team, I'm the form team, I'm the better team. We beat them very recently in whatever the Community Shield is called in France. So let's go into it with our default strategy and hope for the best. So our more cautious approach saw us quite simply adjust our mentality from attacking to positive, switch to slightly shorter passing in order to help us work the ball into the box, but without suggesting as such, and taking a few more considerations for opposition instructions into account, which led to us creating this beauty from Profundi to take the lead. At this point, I'd like to give a quick shout out to the 2 commenters on screen, whose comments on our last video led us to producing this one. Moreover, a big thank you to all the commenters who leave such lovely words. It really does mean a lot. Whilst we continue to boss this game against PSG then, I'll also take this opportunity to remind you that if you're here for our 4-1-2-2-1 elongated diamond, you can skip forwards. One last quick plug from us then, and if you're not already subscribed, at FM Immortal we try and bring you one new video a week, and if you like our stuff and you play more than FM, why not check out our sister channel, Flak Cannon Gaming. Half-time then, so far so good. They haven't created a lot at all. They've got 0.24 XG. The only highlight they had was a shot that whistled past the post, which was from a kind of a deep free kick. We've obviously got the lead, we've got the XG advantage. We haven't got possession, and they're actually better at passing than us so far. So that's the only stat there that I'm a little bit concerned about, is how much we're keeping the ball. So I think this home game is likely going to remain a plan A. We will look at half time though as to what tactics we can do to make sure we keep the ball a little bit better. I'm wondering if these two are a little bit isolated in their attack, and we might bring one of them into support and shorten our passing as well. Let's have a look. So we made a few changes then to go a little more cautious still, plus some fresh legs on the hour mark, and the switch ups we made immediately combined for that second goal you've just seen, scored by Rodriguez, and some much wanted breathing room. And this is where usually the AI would be throwing it at you as well. So I think the possession changes that we made, so the shorter passing and a couple more players on support, have led to us having a little bit more of the ball. So 46%, it's still not great, still not dominating, but it does control the game. And now we're going to do our trademark see out the game tactics for plan A, which is near enough the 80th minute, which we're kind of on now. We're going to switch a few instructions on. Oh, I thought we might have a goal there, but Donnarumma's made a save. So we're going to make it disciplined and a little bit of time wasting, but not just yet. We'll wait until it takes over 80 minutes to go time wasting. And then in transition, when the goalkeeper is in possession, we're going to slow pace down as well. So if they do get the ball to my keeper, he's not going to be in a rush to instigate play again. There we have it then. A well-controlled final 15 minutes, I think. They really didn't amount anything in that second half that was going to scare us. They didn't get to even half a goal in the XG quota. We got possession back with the changes that we made to 48, so we did recoup a little bit of that, and our passing was on par with theirs by the end of things as well. 2 goals from 2.31 XG, so normally we'd probably outperform XG because our players are very good, but they do have a decent defensive line and goalkeeper, of course, in between the sticks. So yes, this was a formation that we knew was a tricky one for us, with a 5-3-2 with the 2 up front usually causing havoc against our back 3, but because we were at home, because we know we are probably the better side now, and because we have a strong plan A, we kept it as plan A for the home match. In the reverse fixture, we might be doing things a lot more differently and having to revert to plan B, but we trusted the process and it paid off. So that was our slightly more cautious plan A in effect. We're going to move into the counter-attacking version of plan A next, and as we go through these, let us know what you think, if it's the right call or not, down in the comments. So yeah, they are playing a 4-2-3-1 with that advanced playmaker behind the centre, behind the complete forward. But yes, we think we've got to make some changes here. So certainly we're going to go with a adapted version of our plan A, which isn't quite our plan B. It's not that elongated diamond just yet, but we're going to have to drop back. We're not even going to go positive here. If you have a look, we're actually going to drop it back to balanced, which does do a little bit of tactical familiarity damage, but we're also going to make sure that we're a little bit deeper. We are in transition on the counter, and we're not distributing it to our centre backs and playing out of defence, because they are going to be very high up the pitch with those 4 attackers around our box, and we want to basically frustrate them and hit them on the counter in this match. Now, I'm not going to make any tweaks to my formation just yet, but I do think that in this match If we go a goal down, or maybe two, we'll identify that we need to actually have Mokhtar as our ball-rolling midfielder in the middle, with the two in front of him and then two in front there as well, sacrificing one of our centre-backs and going for 1-2-2-1, which I will probably do, but we'll wait and see what happens in the early stages of this match, shall we? A couple of other points to make as we progress through the opposition instructions that I didn't record in the live video. Again, we're showing the wingers onto their wrong foot. We're always pressing that attacking midfielder, and we've set up some tighter marking for Matthias Tell, their main outlet. Now, as you might expect, with us going balanced rather than attacking or positive as we have in previous matches, this was a far cagier game. We started out with a couple of set-piece chances, but not a lot was being created, if I'm being honest. Half chances, if that. And yeah, the boys did well to frustrate Tottenham, who only had, I think, managed one or two actual highlights throughout the first half, which I will get to a summary of very shortly. This was probably the best of the lot from us. Profundi with a right-footed chance, so it's his wrong foot. But now I'll pass back to what was then the live version of me. Okay, so half time then, and this is at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and other than that very last highlight that we just saw where Kulusevski ran from the kind of back left to front right of the pitch, from the Tottenham perspective, and then did a really long looping ball over to Tell, who headed over. You know, the 0.08 XG is not a good result here for Tottenham, in my opinion, for half time. This is not an easy result to get a draw in, let alone a win. So really pleased with where this slightly tweaked plan A has taken me so far, and I don't feel the need to adjust just yet. We might go positive after about 55 minutes and try and get on the front foot a little bit more. We are playing for set pieces at the moment. We've had 4 corners. I think if we get another 4 in the second half, we'll probably score from one. So we're going to stick to the plan here and see how it treats us. And stick to the plan we did, but the second half didn't exactly flow as the first one had ended. So Tottenham were all over us. Every highlight seemed to be a Tottenham highlight, and the pressure was mounting, so something needed to change. So we're going to go on positive. We're going to get a couple of fresh legs on the pitch because we are looking quite tired now. So we'll have a straight up swap. Bordes on for Mokhtar. We'll get Almeida on for Malfreta. Zalewski on for Roca. And I'm thinking the last one's going to be one of Milosevic or Tim, but probably Tim, if I'm honest, because Milosevic is our outlet. Now, the only other change I'm going to make at this point is to say hit earlier crosses. I want us to float them into to Milosevic so we can get a one of those back post headers and try and nick this game, because I think we can do that. Give them a bit of motivation. And off we go. So we're going positive on 60 here, having kind of survived and weathered the storm for the first hour away to Tottenham. Lo and behold, 10 minutes later on the clock, and what should happen but Almeida getting the ball out wide, almost losing it but winning it back. One big floated cross later, and Jovan Milosevic, who else, he's there to bang it in with his bonce. 1-0, thank you very much. And we thought that was it. We think we had enough to see out the match. With only 15 minutes really of game time left, we applied the same principles we did in that first match against PSG. We stopped countering, we slowed pace down, we put a lot more players on support as well, and we had that disciplined button clicked again as we were entering then what we thought to be the last 10 minutes of the game. There was a bit of added time, but it wasn't over yet. Spurs kept pushing and pushing, and with 3 minutes left of added time, this one from Tell came in. I think it was Samuel Ricky hit it against his own post instead of clearing it, and it fell to Kulusevski to tap in. So a bit of a jammy one this. We're not particularly pleased with Samuel Ricky for what he's failed to do here, which is just stick it out if in doubt. Almeida couldn't get the follow-up first either, but it's a very low blow. It's full-time, 1-1. That's a big shame. We were minutes away there from a pretty decent victory, executing the plan almost to perfection until that mistake at the back with Ricky, the guy that I subbed on last. Ultimately, we executed a slightly varied plan A, so I'm not calling this plan B because it's exactly the same formation, roles, and for the most part individual instructions. It was just slightly stripped back to be more counter-attacking, and it almost did the job. Okay, so this is going to be, I think, our first foray into Plan B. We've got Nice at home, and Nice are now our main title challengers. PSG have dropped off a little bit in 2033. They didn't qualify for the Champions League last year as well, which is really funny. And now they are already 9 points behind us after only 12 games. So Nice, yeah, they're a lot tighter to us. They've been our bogey team, if I'm being honest. I think the last time we played Nice, it was, let's have a look, a 1-1 draw, which was very important at the time, actually. That was away, and we went very cautiously into that game because we just needed to avoid losing in order to retain the title. If I look back to other fixtures in that very same season, we lost 2-0 to them in the reverse fixture. That was at home. We did beat them in the cup final the year before, which is nice, at a neutral venue. But yeah, Nice, again, they beat us at home 2-1. I think that was a jammy one. And away, they beat us 3-1. So we've lost to this team a number of times, despite it being a formation that doesn't typically cause us problems, but if we have a look at their tactics of their senior squad, they played this 4-3-3, and they've got such a powerful midfield in Kefram Turam, who is just a fantastic player, absolutely stacked, and Mateus Nunes isn't bad either alongside him, albeit he's getting a bit old and slow. So what I'm going to try and do in this match is my elongated diamond. So even though in my schedule I've been absolutely bossing it in the last let's go to the actual current season. In the last 8 games we've won every single game and not conceded. The only game then before that was one very late consolation goal in what would have otherwise been a trouncing of Troyes, and that Tottenham game that we've already shown you. So yeah, I am still going to make the change because I feel like I need to shake things up against Nice and stay on top of them. I'm going to try and outplay them in midfield, possession-wise, because they are a possession-based team. So here we go then. So how do I change my plan A to plan B when it comes to versing a team and a formation that I know I am going to struggle against? Well, first things first, it's the midfield that will change. So these guys move forward, and I want to basically retain as much tactical familiarity as I can, so I'm probably going to change the personnel here as well. The third centre back becomes the only DM, and the wing backs drop back. They stay as a wing back role, but they drop back into the back four. So this is kind of the elongated diamond shape that I've been talking about so much, but not necessarily showing. The front three remains as is, advanced playmakers on attack behind an advanced forward on attack. The ball-winning midfielder situation here, so this guy becomes a ball-winning midfielder. This guy is actually going to become a central midfielder on support. So that is the major change there. And then we've got to find someone that's best for that role. So it's not going to be Mokhtar. He's actually going to drop back into ball-winning midfielder here. I'm going to retain Nico. I think the last player then to bring in is going to be Samueli Ricky. Although he doesn't seem to be good at that position, it doesn't change him to move into that either. So what we could do here is bring in Jesus, for example, or Jesus, I don't know which one it is. Drop Profundi back as an advanced playmaker on support back there. I think that's actually looking a lot stronger because I want to have that tactical familiarity. I did have a player last season that was a lot stronger in just this central midfield role. If I had chosen central midfielder here, I'd be clicking that move into channels button, which basically means that if I was to reverse this, a attacking midfielder would try and get into these kind of either side of the centre backs and full backs down either side of the penalty area. So it's fairly attacking, and we are going to drop it back to positive for the time being. So let's just have one more look at the tactical familiarity before we go. But we're keeping the rest of the plan A stuff in terms of in possession and in transition. We're still going to distribute to these guys. and then hope that they can pass it out of defence. The one thing that I will do actually, just because we do want a bit more possession and we've got a few more passing avenues now with that extra man in midfield, is drop the passing down to shorter. So this should mean that we have a better possession. I'm aiming to have at least 50% possession at half time, and hopefully that will have enough to edge out Nice at home. Now, we're not going to show the full match here, as we have already just ticked past 20 minutes and we do like to keep our videos slightly shorter and sharper. But instead, we'll fast forward this little bit after we've asked you this question. Do you think that Plan B is going to pay off for us in this match against Nice, or do you think it will backfire because we haven't got that tactical familiarity that we normally carry into the games in our Plan A? I'll give you a few seconds to ponder as Milosevic screws up this shot, and I think we win a corner. Yep, there it is. Well, let me tell you, this is an absolute fisting, and we absolutely did the right thing in using our Plan B against a bogey team and following that rule of thumb that we spoke about 20 minutes ago. So I'll show you the goals now, but we'll wrap it up a lot quicker. So the first goal was a lovely cross from our left wing back Rocha, finished beautifully by Jesus. The second, an incredibly similar goal, Rocha involved again from a deep lying free kick, crossing for Rodriguez, who was on for the injured Milosevic. The third, right on the cusp of half time, was a well worked goal from a set piece and a howitzer from Nico. The fourth, yes, we scored 4, a brilliant passing move this. It's the pick of the bunch. Probably upwards of 30 passes in total involved in the build up to this one. A real team goal, finished off by Rodriguez in a second or so. This lovely pass from Bafundi, who's just in top form, and it's a great finish as well actually. But that one was the cherry on top. Until, of course, the fifth went in. So that's right, 5 goals against a bogey club, and all thanks to Plan B. Just before we go then, the Plan C that we've been promising is all about chasing a goal, as we mentioned. Now, I know what you're thinking. How do you turn a already fairly attacking formation? So the mentality here is attacking. We've got 5 attacking roles already in the default tactic. So how am I turning this into a more attacking outfit? Well, the first change I would be making actually is usually just lumping another person up front. Be that one of my attacking players trying to pull a centre-back away from Milosevic in usually a Trequartista kind of role, or maybe just another advanced forward. I could always throw Rodriguez on here as well. So yeah, he is one of our backups to Milosevic up front. And likewise, I can make the midfield come forward again, as we did in one of our formations. I can make these guys CMs instead of DMs, maybe even then throwing Dragusin up as the other attacking playmaker. So if I'm 85 minutes on the clock and I'm desperate for a goal to level things up, this is the kind of ruthlessly attacking formation I would be going for. I never usually go with very attacking with the mentality. I find that's a little bit disruptive to the actual style of play, because it usually means directness and tempo get maxed out like this, and that's not the way that we usually create. So it'll look something like this, but with personnel changes obviously in the midfield and in that second advanced playmaker role. But this would be our Plan C. That'll do it for today's video then, folks. Bit of a long one today, but hopefully a useful deep dive into when we choose to adopt our various tactical approaches in FM24. Hope you've learned something and enjoyed, but until next time, my friends, adios.